Welcome, welcome, welcome. Hi, everybody. I wanted to first welcome everybody to another DSM exclusive. I've been doing these with Dove Style Magazine for a while, and really what the concept is to bring some of the articles that we bring to the magazine, kind of bring them to life. So we decided that we were going to kick off the holiday season with some wonderful guests. I've been waiting for this show for I don't know how long. And we're bringing somebody new, and we're bringing somebody who's actually been a part of Dove Style Magazine before. But I wanted to welcome everybody because the DSM exclusives are so special to me because we actually get into really, who they are. And an article will be following soon. So this is kind of a double hit. But I wanted to start off by introducing our guests. I'm seeing me out there doing the promo and getting y'all all hyped up. But now is the time. I'm going to introduce you all, and then we're just going to have some conversation and explain why this is kind of like a family reunion kind of thing going on. So I want to introduce our first guest, Corinthia Cromwell. She is a national recording artist who is well known to astound audiences with her skillful and passionate performance as a gospel, jazz, and R&B saxophonist, vocalist, composer, multi-instrumentalist, and band leader. She has been established as one of the most anointed musicians of this era. She has performed on stage and in concert with some of the industry's most notable artists, like Grammy award-winning saxophonist Kirk Whalum, the late Wayman Tisdale, Grammy winner trumpeter Wynton Marsalis,
College,
the incomparable, and Richard Smallwood, and that's just to name a few. She has written and produced all of her music as well as music for others, and she has performed in musicals like Oobla Dee. Did I say that right?
Oobla Dee.
Oobla Dee, that received glowing reviews. She has also received roles in major box office hits like Malcolm X, Boomerang, and Head of State. Corinthia is truly an artist that is salt and light and exemplifies the true meaning of changing the atmosphere. Please welcome Corinthia Cromwell with us.
Yeah.
And we also have Mark Batson. Okay, the word that frames the creative mindset of Mr. Batson is unlimited. He is a Grammy award-winning producer, songwriter, composer, arranger, musician, artist, and author. Mark says he wants to create art that erases geographical barriers and racial barriers. He feels that we not only have the responsibility to entertain, but to help evolve the human race and create a more unified planet. His mantra is, when we become one, we become unlimited. Mark Batson is a classical trained pianist and music producer who has sold over 150 million albums worldwide in the genres of pop, hip hop, R&B, rock, jazz, and classical music. He has worked with a wide array of artists, including Eminem, Beyonce, Nas, Alicia Keys, the Dave Matthews Band, and Anthony Hamilton, which is one of my favorites. A Best R&B Album Grammy winner for 2004 for Beyonce's Dangerously in Love. He brought his innate production skills to bear on projects. He also has worked with Dr. Dre, Jay-Z, Maroon 5, Snoop Dogg, and the list goes on and on and on. What we will get him to maybe talk about is something he's currently in developments with HBO, and maybe he can share more about that. But please welcome Mark Batson to the DSM Holiday Special Exclusive. Welcome, both of you.
Thank you.
I'm so happy to have you all on here. So that was just a little bit about what they do, because we stay busy. So why don't y'all share a little bit with me about Corinthia? Share with me a little bit about your background, because you're actually from Baltimore, Maryland. So I want you to, and I'm sure we have some people from
I'm from Baltimore. Got my bachelor's.
How and
From
let me
Baltimore on here. That's like Charm City.
Yes. Look, in addition to that, I know there's some HU folks out there listening. My sister is one of them. So,
You
yes,
know,
we got HU in the house.
You know.
that's right.
So, tell us
Both
a
of
little
us
bit about
ate.
your journey, Corinthia.
It has been just like so amazing, and I'm just so thankful that God has allowed me to really experience everything that I've experienced, travel where I've traveled.
Oh,
So I'm from Baltimore. I'm to Howard University in Washington D.C. Got my bag. That's where Mark and I met. And then from there, as soon as I graduated, traveled to New York because that's where jazz was on, hot and popping. That's where I needed to be. So I moved to New York from graduation. There, kind of played with a lot of artists there. And it was just absolutely amazing. I met some of all the classic artists that I wanted to meet. And I don't know if I told you that funny story of how I met when I was in New York. I wanted to meet because Jackie McLean used to follow around Charlie Parker. And most horn players, Charlie Parker, but if you're doing straight ahead jazz, it was Charlie Parker. And so what was so crazy was that I was working in a nursing home because my degree is also in music therapy. And one day I'm in there, I'm about to do my therapy session with a group of, like with, they were mostly Alzheimer's patient. And this guy comes by and he was like, hey, you got some great music playing. I always thought I'm going to group up with some jazz. So you got some great music playing. I'm like, cool. He's like, can I bring my mom in? Yeah, sure, come on, bring her in. So I do my whole session. And after it's over, I'm standing next time, I'm looking up at him. I'm like, you know who you look like? He was like, who? I said, Jackie McLean. He said, that's because I am. I'm like, oh my God, I find you since I moved to New York. And the whole time, his mom was one of my patients. And it was like,
Wow.
that just like blew my mind. And he took me on
That's
as
a
one of his
small world.
small where you would have never known. I've been working with his mom. So
And you
yes, I
never
went,
know who you're going to
did
run
that
into,
whole
right?
there in New York. Never know. I mean, I ran into some of the most amazing artists, played with some of the most amazing Betty Carter. There used to be this club called Bradley's. I don't know if you remember Bradley's, Mark, in New York, that
definitely.
we would go to after you did your gig. Remember Bradley's? If you did your gig, then everybody, we all met up at Bradley's afterwards, and we would hang out till like 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning. And
Right.
so I met someone with George Benson, Betty Carter. What's my man's name? Alvin Jones, the drummer, George Coleman, the saxophone. I mean, all these musicians used to be in there. And we would just go there after our gigs and just like, kind of like hang out. And I just kind of come down from your gig. And but you made a lot of great connections there, you got gigs. Yeah, man, I'm looking for a horn player, looking for, that kind of thing. And so I spent a lot of time in New York, got a chance to travel, play. I met Bernard Harper and I played in his band. And then I started my own band. No. I played with which have and Bernice Brooks, just all female musicians that was in that group. And we toured for a while. And then I did my own band, just kind of traveled. And then by the time I got my agent got me to talk the whole movie scene and all that kind of stuff. And it was just like amazing. It was like the greatest experience of my life. And then I wound up coming home because my parents got sick. Well, my grandmother got sick, so I had to come home and take care of her for a while. But I still performed and traveled. I was just leaving from Maryland, traveling out California, all different places. Amazing. I got a chance to work with some great artists. I'm just an amazing artist. Like
Right.
This was so crazy. I did this, we had this John P. Key. I'm in the audience. He's like, oh, who can come up here and sing? And I'm just like, yeah, he gonna pick me. He was like, yeah, you come on up here. I was like, okay. And I got a chance to sing with him. He was like, oh, you think you're good? Can you modulate? I was like, boy, bring it. He modulated.
I know that's right.
So it's like, I'm like, boy, I'm HU, I'll bring it. I got it. You bring
I
the
love it.
change. So
And you actually mentioned that you met Mark at HU. So, Mark, did you go to HU as well?
I sure did. I played in the big band, in the
Oh,
jazz band.
wow. Okay. Oh, so we in trouble. Look, I didn't do HU. I went to Spelman, but I'm still in the family. Okay.
right.
HBCU is all good. It's all
That's
love.
right. So tell me a little bit, Mark, about and because I want to connect you and Corinthia, how you all kind of connected, because you all met back in college. So, well, how was your journey?
Yeah, I got a scholarship to go to Howard from high school. I started school early. I was 16 years old when I started college. And then by my second year, I was the pianist for the big band, for the big jazz band. And Corinthia played baritone sax. She was the only woman in the band,
Wow.
huge band. And we played a lot of intricate music. The learning experience was invaluable. We were under the direction of a great musician and historian named Fred Irby, who also plays for the community center out here. Sometimes I see him. He's playing at the Oscars. He's playing, all the big events. He's a fantastic trumpet player, a fantastic band leader.
Yes.
And he taught us so much. To this very day, if I ever count a band off, I still count it off the same way he counted the band off when I was in this jazz ensemble. And we went through a lot of repertoire. It was a big band, so we played jazz, big band music, from the 40s, 50s, 60s, Duke Ellington, Count Basie, and we toured around and played all over the United States, various shows, and the learning experience to me, that was my first disciplined musical experience where we had, I think, band rehearsal 2 times a week. You had to come in on time, learn your music, study your music. And Corinthia held down, the baritone sax, the bass of the saxophone section. And it was a lot of complex parts in that music. The musicianship in the band was stellar. Yes. And I'll never forget it. That's kind of the foundation of me learning how to orchestrate for big ensembles, to eventually orchestrate for string ensembles, and all that started with playing and writing inside of that big band, which a fantastic group of musicians.
Wow. I mean, the fact that you all met in college and your college careers took you kind of full circle where you all still are connecting, years later in the music industry. Sometimes people go to school and then they don't end up doing whatever it is that they were going to school for, but you all are all in, and have had some extraordinary journeys and careers with the people that you all have played for and worked for. And I know music is your thing. Everybody loves music. It's like, who doesn't love music? Whatever kind of music it is, everybody loves music, So I'm just excited to have you all on to share. I know we share some fun stories, but tell me a little bit about, you all went in different directions. I know, Corinthia, you went to New York and then you ended up coming back to Baltimore. So what was your journey once you got back home? I mean, I know you were still traveling, but so how did, things progress from there? Because you mentioned something quickly about having your own band too.
Right. So before I left New York, I had done the 2 movies. I did Boomerang and Malcolm X. And my agent had booked those. So I did those 2 movies. And then when I got back to Baltimore, it was great because they recorded some scenes of Head of State here in Baltimore. So that was perfect. And so I was able to continue here. I would just go either to where it was just for, like, if I had magazine, shoots to do. I did one magazine, kind of played a part of a businesswoman. I was like, oh, my hair was horrible. But I would do magazine print, stuff like that. And so my agent just had me all over just doing different things. And I was writing music. And I think my first record here that I did was the CD Stick It In Your Ear. And that went great. We had such great just views on that CD. And then I was still just, go back to New York to travel. I might do like a tour, like a 2-week. I might do do the cruise, the jazz cruise, just that stuff like that I was still doing. And I was still writing. I would write music for other people. And, but while I was still doing taking care of my grandmother and working in a nursing home, because I still love working with seniors. And I was doing that, and they really allowed me to do that. And what was so amazing, before I left New York, I was able to really do a lot of theater there. Like I did produced a vaudeville show when he's like, cool. I was like, I was into that kind of stuff. And then when I came back here, I was able still to do productions here, which was great. And you just traveled out from different places. Yes, I see Sharon Parker.
It.
Yeah.
So what? Let me. And I'm gonna ask you this, and then I'm gonna ask Mark a few questions. But what got you interested in the saxophone?
Right.
So I actually started out, and a lot of you don't know, I started out playing violin in elementary school. But it cracked on me so hard, I had to let that thing get stolen because I was like, look, they're not going to be calling me Squeaky. My dad bought me another one. I was like, Dad, like for real. It's like, you don't understand the pressure I am under in elementary school. So when I got to middle school, I switched to clarinet. And then when I got to high school, I had the most amazing teacher to this day, Dr. Ron Kearns. Awesome teacher. I mean, just amazing, just big encourager. And so he, I played in the class, ensemble, orchestra, and all of that. He said, well, look, Corinthia, I'm gonna give you the saxophone. I want you to take it home over the Christmas holiday. And when you come back, I want you to audition for the, for the jazz band. And I was like, all right, cool. And you give me a challenge, I'm up with it. So I took it home.
Right.
It was just, like science. And when I came back, I auditioned and I took first year. And I was like, okay, I'm in it now. It was just like, and then, my parents were my dad was like, okay, I guess I got to get you a saxophone. I'm like, yeah, I guess you got to.
Wow. Because the gift was there. It was just waiting, huh?
My parents were always there. Wherever I played, they were always there. And I remember this funny story that I tell people. I was doing this gig. I think it was in New York. I think it was in New York and New Jersey. But I wasn't doing well. I was sick. I wasn't feeling well. But you still got to do the work, right? So I'm playing. We're doing this hot song, and I'm just ripping it, whatever. But as I was playing, my nose started running, and this big old bubble was developing in my nose. And my dad comes out of the audience with his hand, walks up to me and go, boop. The audience went up, because I didn't Mr. B, but I was like, he was like, and everybody was like, oh yeah, he loved his little girl. And it was just like, he just walked up, was like, boop.
That is hilarious.
Of course, I'm playing like, what is he doing? What is he doing? Just walked up with his handkerchief, pop.
That is one of those stories
so amazing, but
you would never forget something like that.
never forget, or just have. And then everywhere I've gone, I've just had friends, people that have seen my career. So Dr. Kearns saw. I don't know if you remember this, Mark. Remember we did the tribute to, I think it was John Faddis. I think it was either John,
yes.
Not John Faddis. I mean, it was a tribute to what was the keyboard player's name? That passed. Oh.
Jerry Allen.
Oh my God, John Malachi.
John Malachi, definitely.
It was Jerry Allen. Yeah, Jerry Allen played. Right. And so they had announced, Corinthia Cromwell baritone sax from Dunbar High School, right? And all of a sudden I hear this little tiny voice says from out of the audience, it was Douglas. And I'm like, who knows I went to Douglas? And it was my high school music teacher. Way up in the balcony. It was crazy.
Wow.
And it's
how cool is that? Oh my God. So let me ask you, Mark.
It was so cool. It was like cool. It's just.
Did you play instruments with Corinthia? Y'all were in the same band, right?
Right. I was the pianist in the band. We played with Dexter Gordon when they made the movie Round Midnight.
Yeah.
When they were celebrating that, we played with him. We played with Wynton Marsalis.
Mm-hmm.
Wynton Marsalis came to the school, and when we played with him, we performed with a lot of great musicians, and was basically kept the history alive of a lot of the music of that time period. That's what the jazz studies program was about. I think jazz culture was a lot different then. There were jazz stars, who were were long instrumental solos and making instrumental albums. I mean, we still have some today, like what's the guy's name? Kamasi Washington.
Mm-hmm.
And then we have what's that group called? Lotus, Flying Lotus. Great musicians who still play free jazz or jazz like that. But at that particular time period, they were jazz stars. I think the Marcellus brothers were huge at that time. And there were a lot of musicians that were making a career playing jazz. There were a lot of jazz clubs.
Yes.
And so it was a viable art form to work on building a career. And we grew, as musicians there. And then a lot of great musicians came from that program, like Wayne Lindsay here in LA, who does a lot of film and TV and shows. And then there's Michael Bearden, who's the director for Lady Gaga right now, who also was the director for Michael Jackson's band before he passed.
Yeah.
A lot of great musicians came through that program and were performers who played in that jazz band and learned about sight reading music, things that you need when you play in big ensembles or you play for the award shows or any of the major things. You need to have those skills. And we developed those skills together in that big band during that time period.
Well, and I look, Corinthia, I always thought it was so cool for a female to be playing the saxophone. Because, back in the day, you never saw females with that instrument.
Exactly.
And when years ago, when you were in Dovestyle magazine and that was my track, I was like, oh my goodness, the sisters are showing up with the saxophone. Because I love the saxophone. And my husband always wanted to play it. But he wasn't ready. He just like, nah. But I was like, you have to see her, listen to her music, and maybe that'll, because he's always loved the sound of the saxophone. Yes, and it's so cool.
I agree. These guys, it's meant to be cool, but these guys made sure that I was ready because I think they knew back then, like this was going to be my career, and that I had to come with it. So it was like they ain't let me slide at all, and I learned so much from them, and I appreciated so much that they poured into me. I mean, like Mark, he's like 16, 17, and he was tearing the keyboard up, and I'd be amazing, like, oh my brother were freaking phenomenal. I'm like, I gotta go to New York because these brothers is like was tearing it up, and it made you step up your game. It was like I had Kevin Levi on first chair alto. You had to step up your game. These brothers was like, it was Chuck, Chris Royal. You remember all of these cats? They were monsters.
Really incredible music.
Man, the history of music that you all are sitting on top of is just like amazing. And I was going to ask Mark, what made you get into classical music? Because I'm thinking, you got a young brother who's interested in classical music. That had to be rare back then. The artists are different nowadays.
I started in classical music first. My father was an opera singer. So, we lived in the projects in Brooklyn, New York. And he sang a lot of community opera and with Metropolitan Opera singers, worked in the post office by the week, but still did his music, whenever he had the opportunity to do it. We're also raising his family. So myself and my siblings, my brothers and sisters, we all had classical piano lessons from an age of 4 or 5 years old.
Wow.
We played all in Carnegie Hall by the time we were 12 and 13, won a lot of piano competitions, participated in international piano competitions. And we started in that first. At the same time, that was the birth of hip hop. So I was also in a rap group when I was 13, with my brother at the beginning of hip hop, and experienced the whole development of hip hop at the same time of learning classical piano and living in the projects in Brooklyn. So it's a multi-layered experience.
Yeah.
It was a multi-layered experience. And that kind of steered. I played in bands and all that in high school and wedding bands, and all that music eventually led me to get that scholarship to go to Howard to study jazz, which was brand new to me when I got there, but definitely was an art form that I appreciated and dived into. Again, like what Chrissy said, there were so many fantastic musicians there, her being one of them. And I always wondered, Corinthia, why the baritone sax? That's the biggest saxophone, what I'm saying? It's
right.
huge.
I know, right?
And I always wondered,
It
why
was
did
the
you choose
biggest, one of the biggest
baritone?
instruments.
Why you chose Barry?
Well, it was so funny because Irby came to me and he was like, Corinthia, I need a baritone sax player. I know you can do it. And I was like, oh, like I'm an alto player. He was like, no, they're the same. You know how Irby was, that they're the same key now. So so he was just like, I want you to come audition and play Barry sax.
Nice. I see.
Like, okay, same issue, sax, get home. Worked it out, came back, auditioned, and he was like, when he introduced me, like, yeah, we got, because, Chris, they were like, her name is, Corinthia, but we call her Chrissy. She's going
Right.
to be in a band. And they just y'all just accepted me, and it just was like, that was a big inspiration for me because it was like, wow, like they really depended on me to hold down this Barry,
The Barry, right.
Yeah. That's huge. And you all, so tell me a little bit how you all, because you all are in that number. You were inspired by those who were doing great things, and here y'all are doing great things up with them. So tell me a little bit about, we can start with Corinthia. How did you get into? Because I mean, you actually, I think the last time we interviewed, you shared that you were in Boomerang, and I was like, oh yeah, there she is. I see her. But how did you get into some of that, and then some of the artists that you work with? I mean, I know I don't like to ask this question like who was your favorite, but I think we did maybe ask of who you would like to add to the list, maybe.
That's for Corinthia.
Corinthia or Mark, either one of you.
Your question is who was the favorite?
Yeah, I try not to ask that because sometimes that can get hard. But like, who have you not worked with yet that you would like to maybe work with in the future?
I want to make a record with Bono, so
okay.
I wrote the song and I just have to make it happen.
I know that's right.
It's in my dream list because he's one of my favorite live performers that I've ever seen, and I've got a chance to talk to him a few times and kick it with him, and I just think he's an amazing spiritual person who wants to use his music to unite the world, to shed the boundaries of religion so that we can all coexist. I just like what he stands for, and I like what the group stands for. So eventually I think it's going to happen. I'm just going to keep pushing for it, but it's something I want to do in the future.
We're going to claim that for you too. That's what we're going to do.
That's all right.
That's right. Join up. Yeah, that's what happened.
That's right.
And right now, that's what happened. It would happen.
So Corinthia, who is it that you want to add to your list?
Oh my God. It's so hard because there's so many people. Like some people that I played with are no longer here, but I've always wanted to do with Daryl Cole because he was such an amazing singer. He just sang all over the place. I mean, he was just like amazing. His voice was just but he passed on, but I just loved, he came to my church one time and we backed him up, but I really wanted to just record with him because he was just awesome as far as the gospel music goes. As far as jazz, I probably would want to play with now Herbie Hancock. Love Herbie.
Wow. Stuff. Okay.
Love Herbie stuff. As R&B, Mark.
We're gonna do something. We're gonna do something. We're gonna get it done very soon. We get ready to have our collaboration that's coming up soon.
So that was a great lead-in. That was a great lead-in. So share us a little bit about you all are kind of reuniting. What things are you all looking to work on coming up?
Corinthia has a Christmas project.
Right. Okay.
And I'm going to dive into it with her and see what we can come up with. We want to come up with something great that represents elite status, and we want to come up with something great. So this is the beginning. This is our first day talking about it, diving into it, and this is a good format to say we have something that we're going to work on soon. It's going to be fantastic.
Absolutely, that's going to be fire.
Yeah.
I'm just so blessed. Like I woke up one morning and I was like, it was just so funny. I had not thought of, he wasn't on my mind, and God just put Mark in my heart, and I was like, okay, I'm hitting him up. Like, okay, that this is our season to work. And it was just like, and we like music. So I've got like several songbooks, which I'm sure like Mark had, several songbooks of music. But for some reason, I just couldn't release it because it wasn't right. And then I woke up just one morning, God said, text Mark. I was like, okay. Like, and as soon as I texted him up, he was just like, whatever you need, I got you. And I was like, okay, God, this is supposed to happen. All right, sure. Said, let me know how I can help. But it was supposed to happen. So I, just like songs, like even think like some of the songs I have in my songbook or songs. Like I had this one song called Fall. And it was, from the signs of the time, like our nation is divided. That's why we're falling. So I just kind of wrote the words out for that one. And then I've written this song for, when we had the whole big Freddie Gray thing happening. But it has to be the right spirit with you on that. They have to connect with you on it so that you deliver the right message. Because my music has always been, I need my music to impart, and I need it to make a difference. I need for it to speak directly to a person's heart so that there is a change. And I know this one I remember, and I was sharing this with you, Lisa, that when I did my CD release concert, after it was over, this young man comes up to me and he said, I'm so glad I came to your show. He said, because he said, someone gave me a ticket for your CD release concert. And it was a jazz and gospel. That's the one with Cromwell. So I did jazz first and then the gospel. I can't remember how I did it. But the man comes up to me afterwards and he said, listen, I want to let you know that I got a ticket for your show. So glad that I came. He said, because my plan was after I left your show tonight, I was going to go home and kill myself. And I'm like, was so heavy. He said, but I don't want to do that anymore. And I'm like, okay, God, I know this is what I'm supposed to be doing, because we as artists, we can change a person's mind from one thing to the next. And it crosses all races, all ethnicities, all, language barriers, just everything. And this is thing that you just don't decide you want to be a musician. And we have some people that just came. But we have musicians that the minute they put pen to paper or hand to keys or, finger to keys, and that when they produce, that it brings about a change in a person.
Absolutely.
And I think that's what our purpose is as musicians. So
well, and me and you, when we talked a little, when we were doing the interview for the magazine, the written article, we shared how you were sharing how music is so healing. And I mean, that's why I think everybody on some level loves a beat. I catch myself, my husband jokes all the time, every time, even when a commercial plays, I just move as soon as the music goes. I'm just doing something, and he's like, really? I mean, because it doesn't take much, and I'm just moving to it because music makes you feel, things that you didn't even realize until you hear it, and then you just pop into a snapping your fingers or you moving your head or something. The power, and we talked about that, the power behind music. And what you all are doing and what you all have done already, is so much in the music industry, which is partly why I like to do these interviews and bring people to the forefront. Because as Sharon is mentioning, a lot of our young people don't even know, what's out here, what's going on. And, you even hear people from Howard University, and these young people don't even know what's coming out of Howard University and these HBCUs. Y'all are paving the way for a whole lot of people. They need to know. They need to know what's going on.
Exactly.
We have the vice president now, so that's pretty. Right. That's pretty.
Yes, and she's HU.
So I had a question. Sharon wanted to know: did either of you, did you all know Charlie? It was this Charlie Parker.
That's before our time.
That was before our time. He was, by the time we got, he had already passed on. But he was, an amazing saxophone player. That's why I wanted to meet Jackie McLean, because Jackie McLean, as a kid, used to follow around Charlie Parker. So, he picked up a lot of his stuff. And that's why I said, well, I can't meet Charlie Parker, but I sure enough can meet Jackie McLean. And
that's right.
phenomenal.
And also the pianist for Charlie Parker, one of his main pianists was a guy named John Malachi.
Yeah.
And John Malachi, in his latter years, was the jazz piano instructor at Howard University. So he was my piano teacher in the last 2 years of his life. So we've got a lot of information about Charlie Parker and how important the movement of, bebop jazz was, how those are some of the greatest musicians that played. And it was some of the most intricate music. Wow. That's something else.
You said it was your cousin, girl. The Charlie Parker was your cousin.
It was some of the most intricate music to ever be popular, to be the most popular music of the day, to be so intricate. And it takes so much practice and practice and practice to perfect. And for him to be a light year ahead of almost anybody else playing the alto saxophone at that time was a phenomenal achievement. And he's considered to be, one of the greatest musicians of all time. And, up there on the level with all of the super greats, the Bachs, the Beethovens, the Stevie Wonders. Charlie Parker is right in that lineage of the all-time greatest musicians who ever walked on the planet Earth.
Yeah,
absolutely.
And the thing I loved about Howard made us study the history. You remember that we said Blacks in the Arts, Mark? You have to know the history of music and musicians.
Dr. McKenzie.
What? Remember? Yes.
Yeah.
Like that class was 8 o'clock in the morning, but I'm like so blessed that they made me study the history of music and music, artists.
Wow.
That it was like, how can people not know this? It's just like, how do you not know this?
Sharon, who's turned in, Sharon Parker, she has an event coming up December 14th, but she is like the historian of she's doing an event, and she always connects our millennials and our young people to history. And right now you all are giving a huge history lesson on just music and where we've been and where we're going, where we're going. You all know you've watched the music change. You know what I'm saying? Like, you watch the styles change, and you've been actually, sometimes you meet people and they're in specific genres and you talk about those, but you all have touched every single genre that exists. So it's not like one area you all can't touch on, an instrument, to be honest with you.
Definitely.
Yes, the power that's right here is amazing. I did want to ask you, okay, so in Mark and Corinthia, you're going to share too on, you've worked with a lot of people. So how did that come about? I know there's some people out there who love some of the art. I did mention that Anthony Hamilton, his voice is just like amazing, his talent. But how do you connect with these people and you all make music together? Because everybody's doing something different. But apparently everybody loves the kind of work that you all do and the music that you're playing, because you all they want you. I need you on my team. I need you playing for me. So how does that happen?
For me,
Mark, you want to go first?
Sure, I can. For me, it started with just wanting to write records or wanting to be more produce records than playing in bands. I think I worked with Khalees. I was touring with her when she did her first album. They had the "I Hate You So Much Right Now" song.
Yes.
And I got to hang out with Pharrell and Rob Walker, who were like the Neptunes guys. And it just seemed like, writing the songs, you as a musician, being a producer, you would be more in control of your career, your life, and where you could take it. And my first album that I produced or worked on after working with them was Indy Ree's first album, which is Acoustic Soul. And after that, I think Anthony Hamilton, he was in a situation where he was signed to Atlantic Records, and they were having some difficulties with his project. And so I met him, and we used to just hang out in the studio. We wrote Coming From Where I'm From and another song called Charlene. And those two songs, Jermaine Dupri's company bought Anthony's Contract out, and then they put that album out. And then from then I started going to California, LA more. And that's when I worked with Seal and then started working with Dr. Dre, Eminem. So it was just one, after having a certain success at the end with NDRE's album, it got nominated for 7 Grammys. I got nominated for Album of the Year.
Wow.
That kind of opened up a lot of doorways for me to work with a lot of different people and have the opportunity to go to be in a room with different entertainers or artists who wanted to write or wanted to develop something individualistic to themselves. Because my style of production has always been about enhancing what the artist does over creating the sound that's my own sound per se. I don't think I have any particular sound. It's just helping that person actualize what their dreams are. Please take over, Corinthia.
So no, you're absolutely correct. For me, it was like I actually, when I graduated, I said went to New York, and my first professional gig. Well, professional gigs, all the gigs were, but I think one of the breakout happens for me was I actually got a chance. I wanted to be an arranger because I love writing music and arranging music. So, and this is where my Howard University things came in. My first gig was transcribing this song for Cissy Houston, which was, the song was Millions Didn't Make It. I don't know if y'all remember that song. It was a gospel song. And so I was at the church, we were having rehearsal, and I just started playing the changes, and she was like, "You know that?" And I was like, "Yeah." She said, "Well, can you write that out for the keyboard player?" I was like, "Sure." So back then cassettes were in. Yeah.
Okay.
So I'm at the stereo with the cassette, and I'm like, right back, write the changes out. So I transcribed, the piano part, and I took it to Sissy, and so that's when she paid me. And that was the first time I was like, wow, like this training thing really worked.
Right. I love it.
But because people, and this is the thing like this, that you also have to have the right kind of spirit for people to want to work with you, because people don't want to work with difficult people.
Right.
But when they know your spirit, that you have you're easy to work with, you listen to them and help them realize what they hear in their head. You put what's in their head on paper or on tape. They say, listen, hey, this is a good person to work with. Call this person, call that person. And you kind of make those connections, that way. Because you want someone that you can work with that's going to help you realize that vision that you have. And if they're not the kind of person that knows how to write music, but they know what they like and they don't like, our job is just to, play so that they can, oh yeah, that's what I want right there, right there. Can you put that right there? They might not know, maybe so, yeah, play A flat 7, D flat 9, sharp 11. They just say, this, I'm singing a da 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 and da da da. You're like, okay. And you just kind of play that to make it, to make what they hear in their head come to pass, if that makes sense. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. And, one thing I wanted to mention to you all, because I want you all to share a little bit about what a tip would be, because you all have kind of been the example of how, as you pour into your gift, how it can grow. So that's what you all have done. So what tip would you give someone who's like, trying to move ahead and perfect their craft? Because really that's what you did. It wasn't about, I want to make a record, I want to do this. It was about just, getting into your craft and doing what you do. And then people will recognize your gift, and it goes where it goes. It's already written. So So share a little bit about, like what tip would you give somebody that's, interested in doing this and wanting to get into whether it's the music industry or any, career industry. What's a tip or something that you use that kind of kept you motivated and focused, for success?
I guess for me, you want to go first, Mark?
No, you go ahead, please.
I think for me, it's this, like, everybody's called for something. And I've always told, even in other fields, if you need it, somebody else needs it, right? So whether it's an invention or, or whatever it was, but like for me, as far as what the music was, I wanted to make sure that my healed. So I built now, and this is me, my Christian walk. 1 Samuel 16:23, where I was sharing with you, Sharon, about where it says that Saul, who had an evil spirit that was put on him by God, called for a minstrel, which was David. It said David, whose heart was right with God, came and played skillfully, and the evil spirit that was put on Saul by God was lifted. So I'm like, wow. Like, it didn't say Christian music. It just said he played skillfully. And because his heart was right, that ministered to God. So God said, yeah, I'm going to lift this spirit up off of shorty. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's like, so for me, it's like, my pastor and I had this conversation, because I would say to him, music is not inherently evil. It is the heart of the person that's either singing it or playing it or writing it that makes it evil. Because an A flat in Oh Happy Day is the same A flat that's in, Lemonade. You know what I'm saying? It's the chord is the chord.
Mm-hmm.
What's in your heart that makes this. If you're doing it intentionally in malice in your heart, then that's what you're going to spew out there. But if what you're creating in your heart is like, yeah, this, this right here, and it creates happiness, or it creates joy, or it creates someone to want to think. It's like, yeah, man, like that lyric just made me think. Like, wow,
Mm-hmm.
and that's what you want people to leave with. You want to leave with, yeah, like, wow, like, what would I do?
Right.
It's like, and make you think about that. But that's the power that we have as artists. And that's what makes us the biggest target for attack. And that's why we have to be really careful about our gift, because we become targets. Lord have mercy.
Right.
And if you don't guard your gift, Mark, you know what I'm talking about. It's like, it's crazy.
Yes, absolutely. What about you, Mark?
I'm really so into what Corinthia said about skillfully.
Yes.
I see talent similar as far as the intentions of the talent. I've been talking lately of how much I see the similarities in Eminem and Yo-Yo Ma. Totally different styles of music, but both of them emotional perfectionists, about their creativity, and how much, you just, if you play skillfully, if you aim for that, then your intentions will carry through. But as far as talking to other musicians, I would say that if you really want to be skillful, then you have to put the time in. So it's an everyday thing. If you really want to be great at it, the prize goes to the person who stays on the grind, who does it every day. When I worked with Dr. Dre for years, it was like, a job. Like, we came in at noon or 1:00 every day. We recorded a certain amount of songs. And we diligently did that every day, so we would have libraries of tracks and songs done. You just have to, if you want success at it, you have to do it every day. You have to be diligent about it every day, and understand that the race sometimes goes to the person who runs the longest. Sometimes there's people who make one song or two songs, and then next thing you know, this huge success. And there's other people who they make 1,000 songs before they get there, and they just have to keep going and keep going and keep going, and then wait until God decides whether the successes will be come to you, or whether you need it in your life. I guess there's certain people that just they don't need no success.
Right, they're not ready. Right,
get them in trouble. You know what I'm saying? So maybe that's best in those situations. But
that's
it's
true.
a spiritual thing. It's a spiritual thing. God decides whose voice will be heard, and just stay diligent. Just stay on it. Find your way. Make sure it's fun, because if you're doing something that's not enjoyable, then you're not going to want to keep doing it when you become successful.
Right.
So, for me, whatever I'm doing right now is what I do. So whether, it was this huge amount of money attached to it or not, it's just, I love making music every single day, writing scripts, stories, creating. it's what I love to do. It's what fulfills my life. So it's an ongoing process. It's not really just about the job. It's really about being creative and doing that consistently. And that's what
right.
I would advise. Yes.
Yeah, consistently, and what y'all really have said, put the work in. So for everyone, these young people and older people who think that you can just get by with a little bit, or yeah, I'll go all in for a good year and then I'll back off for a little bit. You got to be consistent, and you got to put the work in. You got to do the work. I mean, there's no way around it. And I think sometimes people think when they make it a little bit before and they haven't done all the work, they think, okay, so I ain't got to do all that. But it
Right.
circles back around and you find out that you should have been working more because the buck stops here. It doesn't continue.
Right.
And people
Right.
don't see, like, they see the end product.
Mm-hmm.
They see end product, the hard work that went into. Like when we were preparing for Ubla D, we started rehearsal at 9. We didn't get done till 10 at night.
Wow.
So we like all day, like in rehearsals, because it was all, aside from the Ubla D tune, all of us were like original songs. So, we're music and we had a copies there, like we'd go and change music, whatever. So all day we were together, and then it would be the musicians, and then we brought in the actors. And then once we did that, then we had to transfer to the actual stage where it was going to be and how it was set up. The band was at the top, the actors was on the stage. And so it was like all day just making sure every I was dotted, every T was making sure you heard what you didn't miss a cue, that you hit the cue, everything. And the way that Ruben Santiago Hudson, who was the director, the way that it was because the girl on the stage, who I was her musical voice, it wasn't like she was playing the saxophone. She didn't fake it like that. She just held the saxophone in her hand and moved like I was almost playing. So the spotlight was on me and her. I was in color. And so he did it completely different. But we were 9 a.m. We had to report to and we got done at night. But I absolutely loved it because this is what I know I was called to do. This, and like Mark said, you got to put the time in. You don't just go and just say, okay, one song, I'm gonna be a millionaire, and it's work, work,
right,
work.
Right. This has been such a pleasure. And I'll say it's a reunion for Corinthia and Mark because they actually went to HU together and they haven't seen each other in a while. And on top of that, it was also a reunion because Corinthia and I met like 7-8 years ago when I first launched Dove Style magazine, but we never physically saw each other. We talked on the phone. I think in the last few weeks we talked for hours on the phone. She probably know me better than some people who know me for years. We've had some wonderful conversations. So this is like an all-around reunion, and I have enjoyed every minute of this. And before we leave, I want both of you all to let us know what projects, in addition to the ones, because I'm going to want to know what happens with the both of you all. I am a holiday person, so I am looking forward to that. So please keep me posted on that. But what other projects are you working on or looking to do that let everybody know where they can contact you too? So Corinthia.
Okay, so kind of like a bunch of stuff. So every year I do an annual concert for the Kennedy Center. So I'm working in that right now. And because of COVID, we're having to pre-record our performance. And then they're just going to show. So December the 9th, the concert will be shown. Everyone's individual. So we've got artists from all over the world that are performing. And I love doing this concert because it raises money for the Boys and Girls Club. So I have that one. And then, like Mark said, we're working on a Christmas project. And then my new CD that I'm looking for 2021 is entitled Straight Roots. And that's like a straight ahead music. I am on all the socials, Sharon. I'm on all of those. You can Spotify, all of those. You can find me on those. Just put in you can find me. And Broadway will open back up because before the pandemic, I was supposed to have been touring through Italy for my music. And then I'm working on a project that I can't say, but it was a project about women in jazz. It's going to be a musical that I'm hoping that once everything opens back up, I'll be able to get back to doing that. And it all ties in with myself and a partner had done back in the day, we did a thing called Beauty and the Women in Jazz, Beauty and the Beat Jazz. It was about female jazz artists from like the 19th all the way up. And it's on, like, a lot of people know about Lester Young, but they didn't know about Irma Young, who played tenor saxophone. So there are a lot of female artists out there that they knew nothing about. They knew about Louis Armstrong, but they didn't know about Lil Armstrong, who played piano.
Wow.
And December the 18th, I talked about the movie Ma Rainey's Black Bottoms. December the 18th, a lot of people didn't know about Ma Rainey. And so, but now they're gonna get this introduction to her. And so that I'm moving in that direction. Hopefully gonna be doing some music for film. So so I'm excited about that. And just working on some orchestral pieces.
Okay.
I'm excited about it. And I've been doing like a lot of writing a lot of medieval music, which I love. I just love the amazing, stuff. So
wonderful. And they can find you where so they can keep in contact with you?
So they can reach me at my website at www.CorinthiaCromwell.com. They can reach out to me there, to see once this pandemic, if we can get our schedules back. But I'm there. My music can be found on things like everywhere, YouTube, Spotify, all of those musical outlets. They can find them. Me there and just support, and because it's been challenging for us musicians now. So.
Sharon said she got to play Corinthia and Mark's music at the conference December 14th. I definitely need to connect the history that you all are sitting on. We got to get the word out on this. So thank you so much, Corinthia. I'm looking forward to the holiday stuff you got going on, and keep us posted, because I'll share it on my page and with the magazine. The article's also coming out too, so that people can come out and support. Yes, you representing for the sisters. Girl, no, that's right. And Mark, tell us what's going on with you. What do you have coming up?
I have an album out right now in a book of positive affirmations and affirmation music. It's called I Want to See You Shining. You could get that at therealmarkbatson.com. My Instagram is Mark Batson Rocks. I'm also working on a documentary about 3 young girls from Brooklyn who were homeless, and then they got funded from Tyler Perry and became junior Olympians in track. So working on music for that, and also have a project, an opera. I'm writing African-American opera in conjunction with HBO. It's going to be an HBO show called God Soldiers, and that's what we're working on next year.
Okay, cool. So we have some wonderful things to look forward to. So y'all gonna have to come back and keep us, caught up on everything that y'all doing. But I wanted to say to you all, thank you so much for joining me. I know you all have schedules that, keep y'all working. So this hour out of your time, I really, really appreciate it. This has been such a treat for me personally, if I'm being a little selfish, but at the same time, the history that you all shared, I know Sharon is on cloud 9 right now, because that's truly her lane. And I think you all were sharing things that, I didn't even expect that much history. Sharon says she's connecting with you on Instagram right now, Mark. So, but thank you so much. I appreciate you all. Corinthia,
thank you so much.
Yes, this has been
Corinthia.
so
it is great.
I'm so glad I've been able to do this, Mark. I was like,
yes, this was such a blessing.
That's right. So fine, when God says Mark, and He made it happen. It was like, okay, Lord, you said Mark.
Yes, it was when she mentioned, and I was like, oh, this would be awesome. Just to get, and when I was trying to get Corinthia, because I was like, look, I lost everything in the magazine the first time. I could have given up, but I was like, no. It just kind of dropped in my spirit too. And I said, call her back and see if she's, wanting to come back and do this again. And then I'm doing, when I started doing exclusives, I was like, okay, so I'm going to get them twice. I'm going to do a written article, and then I want to talk to you because we finally got to meet. So I am happy for that. So this was wonderful to kick off the holidays, especially during these times because it's been, it's been rough for everybody. So this was a bright light, definitely. And I want to remind everybody, you all can check out my magazine at dovestylemagazine.org. And it's been around since 2012, but we relaunched in January of this year. And in the midst of COVID, we have done some wonderful things. This interview actually will also be housed in the magazine along with the article that's coming up. So thank you all so much. I appreciate you all.
Thank you. Thank you
This
so
has
much.
been wonderful. So I
And
wish you all the best in everything that you do, and see you next time. Thank
see you
you.
next time. Thank you.
I love you
So y'all
guys.
have a good one.
Bye.
Thanks. See ya.